it is my honor to invite a friend, a dear brother, and that's Dr. Zaid Ali Joffrey to come up to the front.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Dear respected ulama, all the brothers and sisters, centers management, madrasa management, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We will also welcome the Imam of our time in our gathering with a salawat on Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Okay, so I have got a bit of a task to do. This was supposed to be an hour-long presentation and a lot more detail going into it. I have done quite a lot of research for about 2 days almost, looking at different faiths, different workshops that have happened, the UK law on these things, some statistics, and come up with like a comprehensive view of enhancing safety and security at centers. And I think maybe it is God's will because it's something that touches all of the centers that we are all sort of available to us together. But it will be a whistle-stop tour. However, I'll make these slides available via the Majlis Ulama file sharing system, along with some other slides as well, so that you have all the details when you need to. And the other task is that I have 13 minutes. I want to give the due time for the education panel, which we have Dr. Zakaria and some of our esteemed teachers over here. So inshallah, in 13 minutes, I'll try and do as much as possible. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So this is supposed to be a comprehensive guide to when center managers are looking at reviewing security arrangements of their Islamic centers. And we're going to touch on a lot of topics over here. Some of them would be very fast. I will be available later on as well if you want to discuss something. But I want to give a background of why is this topic important. Touch at some of the statistics that have happened in the last 2 years. The UK has got a history of Islamophobic attacks against the mosques, but we will just look at 24-25 time. And then a lot of emphasis on what centers can do to enhance security and what are you required to do by law as well in terms of enhancing public safety as trustees of charities. And then there is some bits about what sort of support is available from the government as well, which obviously everyone has to evaluate and see what's right for them. And then we'll look at even a risk assessment and some policies and procedures as well that you will need help with. The Majlis Ulama Imamia Council is also available for any guidance that we can provide you, because all centers will be different in different locations, different geographies, different requirements and needs. So we can give as much advice and guidance as possible, and then inshallah you can come up with your own plans. So I won't go into this a little bit more, but this just shows that I can bring best of both worlds, basically. So right now, there is a rise of 45%. This is 2025 figures, and the references are at the bottom, where hate crimes targeting Muslims are increasing, and hence the government is showing that they have increased funding for the protection of public safety as well. And at this point, very recently, the UK terrorism threat level has been raised as well. And there's a lot of reasons and criteria on how and when the threat levels are raised. But basically, this slide is saying that it is a serious issue and we have to do something about it. I was going to mention like tawakkul at some point. I think in our centers, that's the default mindset that inshallah kuch bhi nahi hoga, ye Allah ka ghar hai aur Allah khud iski hifazat karega, which is absolutely true. But that all comes after the action has been taken place. If you leave the camel without any ropes, then the camel will go away. So why are Shia centers a target? There's the two sides of things. One, there's Islamophobia that we all know about, and then there is the extremism side of things as well that makes us like a dual threat profile. We have a lot of high-profile gatherings. I think no other community has so many gatherings and large gatherings as well, where sometimes thousands of people attend as well. So it becomes a bit of a target. And then our centers are community hubs where we have religious activities. People hold their private events. There's a lot of activity going on in the whole week, apart from daily prayers and other bits. So they come in the eyes of the threat makers quite easily. So what has happened is like more specifically. So in 2025, we had 27 verified attacks, and there is some sources where these attacks are recorded. Maybe there are more, but these are the recorded ones. And then there is a service called Tell Mama, where Shia phobia. This is the largest one. Majlis Ulama has got a service as well to report Shia phobic attacks, but they saw a rise of 218%. I only could find that to 2024 figures. But this is again showing that the hate attacks and are increasing, and the mosques and centers are vulnerable. So as they say in cybersecurity more, but it can apply to mosque security too, that it's a matter of when and not if. Okay, so this is just showing a bit of background from 2024. If some of you remember, there was some stabbings in Southport, and then from there, the mosque was attacked. Lots of things happen, and whenever there's one of these attacks, the people who attack, obviously they have some sort of a motive, but the other people who are like-minded start to think that, oh, this is something possible, and either they hear the news and they become really motivated for doing something. Sometimes they have pressure from different sources, but there's lots of motives. But the attacks don't help that. Every attack would bring a lot more mass together, thinking that they might be able to impact if something is not according to how they want things to be. In 2025, we had all these attacks as well. The Peace Haven one in East Essex. There's a whole story behind it. I won't go into detail, but that's the most sort of recent one in October. These are some of the pictures. Some of the culprits, they say that if they can't do anything, they'll just go in and draw their like a faith symbol on a mosque, and that would be enough to show that some people are unhappy about something, and then they have all the way up to breaking windows and vandalism, and some of them are classed as terrorist activity as well if it's a more massive scale sort of attack. What has actually happened? Just to go into slightly more detail, we had some firecrackers being thrown inside mosque and community centers. These flags and symbols have been put on these premises. There is online stuff happening as well, where people are making these remarks against Muslim or obviously Islamophobic, Shiaphobic remarks, vandalism, breaking of property, mosque-related property. There's even like physical assaults. Some of the sisters have been involved in those assaults related to hijab and other bits, and also procession-related. Maybe we don't notice that, but if you, after every, let's say, Arba'in procession, if you go to the Met website, you will see like some of the people were not arrested, but they were like detained, and then they were later on released because of sort of various things that they class as unruly sort of behavior. But there's lots of things that has already happened, and again, we want to be as careful and planned as possible. So what do we need to do? We've decided and we've kind of concluded that this can happen. Inshallah, it won't happen, but this can happen. So how can we be prepared? If you have to do something successfully, I always say that you have to plan it. When it happens, when the incident happens, that's just too late. So it just requires in one meeting just a bit of thinking, if a scenario incident planning type thing, and we can help with the process side of things. Obviously, you'll go into the details, but it just requires a little bit of planning, preparing, and then preparing is the planning part. You just do a desktop exercise, written exercise, and then the drill is if this happens, like so tomorrow, God forbid, Imam Bakr Center had graffiti outside. then what will the management do as soon as they see the graffiti? Right now, they are not sure about it, but maybe they have like an address of or a contact of a painter ready in their phones. That as soon as something happens, someone will come in and take the. If the windows are broken, what will happen? If there's a little fire, instigated fire, what will happen? So that's a after you have prepared it, then you try that and see how well it works. And in the actual incident, it's about the response. So who are the authorities you need to report to if you need external help? And then if there's an emergency, what you need to do. And after you have recovered, you have to give that confidence back to the public as well, that everything is safe and you can come in, because people start to get a bit worried that in a public place something has happened and they might get impacted as well. I won't go into the details of it. I think most of the people have got the physical security controls just to make sure that they are in good order. The last one is a bit important. I think our mosques don't give that enough importance. Inside the mosque, there are some places where valuable things are kept, and that place needs to be at least. The rest of the mosque people will go wander around areas, but some places they have to be kept for authorized personnel access only. Perimeter security, these are all the areas that you can look at. The hostile vehicle mitigation is something that's advised by the police quite a lot. People can just take a vehicle inside your mosque, and that has happened in London a few times as well. So what is your protection for it? Usually you have some sort of a barrier in front of your main entrance or something. I know in some places, if someone just drives in, then they would just drive in as far as the car goes, and whatever comes in between, they will get impacted. You do need some people who understand this subject, who take on the lead for it, and they can be formally trained, or they can be the ones who get their own awareness and try and make out these plans and help people do the drills and other bits. Okay, we ignore the internet side of things. We all have got websites. We have social media. We have maybe wireless access over here, which could be connected to our computer systems. And someone could easily sit outside and hack into that wireless and into your CCTV, and you won't know what's going on. So there is a cyber side of security as well. Who has heard of Martin's Law? Anyone? So this is a law that came into, this is an act. I mean, there's a difference between act, law, and regulation. I won't go into the details of that, but last year this came into place, and it's related to terrorism and protection of premises, because there was a big rise in this area. Again, not a good time to sort of go into it, but essentially saying that any place of worship whose capacity is 200 plus, whether only like 50 people come in, but this place is 200 plus, so the law applies to it. And what do they need to do with it? And there is a whole plan of standard tiers and bigger premises too. Compliance is required by April 2027. So something we can go into a lot more detail. This is where it is. Evacuation. How do you go outside the premises if something happens inside? And evacuation is how do you have safe places inside the mosque if something is happening outside the mosque? Because you're not going to send people outside if there is something bad going on outside. So evacuation. If you do go into lockdown mode, what does that mean? And how do you communicate to your public, to your staff, volunteers, and to the outside world as well? This is all part of that Martin's Law. It's very detailed, and then we can look into it later on. These are for large events. Those of you who do it, this is the standard procedure for doing those large events. I'm going to be really, really quick because now I'm going into the panel time. I've given some special thought on women and children security. There are lots of programs that happen in the mosques, just managed entirely by sisters. Sometimes like kids programs as well, and sisters are managing it. Maybe sometimes no, males are present over there. What do they need to do? Usually these are weekday morning type of programs, or it could be weekends as well. But there's a few areas to look into if you're planning a female children type of event. This slide talks about procession safety for our juluses as such. lots of councils and polices, these times they require moving processions to have event management plans. So this is all that. I would have gone a lot more into detail, but I don't have time. This is the money available from the government, and you can read this in your own time. The only thing to think about is the government doesn't give the money directly to the mosque. They do it via contractors, right? Even then, you can have a contract with the contractors and put all your clauses in that what you want to do with them. So there is a way to use it. Our brothers, other Muslim brothers, they make a lot of use of it. Even our schools, a lot of people make use of this, basically, but then it needs to be done slightly cleverly, basically. Okay. There is formal training available. I think there is no harm in attending free training. Any learning is good. There's learning programs available, and again, we can point you to that. I've covered insurances. Okay, I won't go into the detail of these insurances, but there's a specific insurance called for trustees called Pool Re. Maybe you haven't heard of this before. I only came out in this research as well. I didn't know about it too. But this is for terrorism reinsurance. And usually when something happens, the insurance company will say this is not covered, right? So how can you make sure that you have the right clause in place, the right insurance provider, the right indemnities, and they understand like what can happen. So it says like what it covers and what it doesn't cover as well. So just in the end, I have put in a 6-month plan. If you're doing nothing about it, then in 0 to 30 days, what you can do in the first 3 months, 6 months, and then what is a regular process. This is a risk assessment where it all starts with. So you look at your physical security, your emergency, insurance, safeguarding, risk management, cybersecurity, and then from that, an action plan would be produced to manage security arrangements. Just lastly, these are the places where you can report hate crime, including Majlis Ulama as well. You see last one. This slide was generated by AI, and Majlis Ulama came up automatically, right? I just asked like, what are the key content and resources, and Majlis Ulama is somewhere in the AI system to report any Shia-phobic sort of attacks. So I'll just end at that.